NBA Finals continue this Sunday night. Game 2 in Boston between the Mavericks and Celtics. I'm going to break down side, total, player props, let you know how to play Game 2 Sunday and make some money. That's coming up free in this video in just a moment. Hi, this is Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, right back here on WagerTalk TV, breaking down your Game 2 of the NBA Finals Sunday night on ABC at 8 o'clock Eastern. And look, Game 1's in the books. It was never close. Boston led by as many as 29 points. Took their foot off the gas, allowed the game to get down to 8. But then they pulled ahead, got up by over 20 again, and ended up winning the game quite easily overall, as expected. And I say as expected because I had my strongest play of the season for my clients at WagerTalk.com on the Celtics in that 18-point blowout. And there were several reasons why I liked it. First of all, the long extended rest actually benefited the Celtics. My back testing shows that NBA Finals Game 1, just NBA in general, the better team with over a week of rest performs well. The rest versus rust argument is very easy to back test, and teams perform well when they're the superior team with rest. So Boston was in a good spot in Game 1. Yet what is interesting, you can make an argument now that the bounce back spot is better for Dallas in Game 2, yet the odds makers have set the line higher. So this is something I want to dive into. Mavericks were a very public underdog in Game 1, one of the many reasons I like the Celtics. Also, Boston matches up well in this series. I did a separate video earlier in the week explaining why I thought the Celtics would win the NBA championship, win this series. And I pointed out that Boston lives and dies by the 3. We all know that. But Dallas's strength defensively is their interior defense with Lively, P.J. Washington, Gafford, their big power forwards. And their perimeter defense, especially their three-point defense, has been below average all season. So it's a good matchup for Boston. I'm not surprised they're up 1-0. I'm not surprised they won easily in Game 1. That's why it was my strongest play, my only 5% this season in the NBA. With that said, though, now the situation historically is good for Dallas to bounce back because they're coming off an embarrassing blowout loss. And historically, Class A teams do bounce back off blowout losses. And I think we can call the Mavericks a Class A team. I know it didn't show in game number 1 on Thursday, but keep in mind, after picking up P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford in that trade in early February, the Mavericks went on a 21-7 run to finish the regular season. Then they lost their 2 meaningless regular season finale games, so they went 21-9. But still 21-7 after that trade because they did get better defensively. We saw that in the series against Minnesota. They were able to stop Anthony Edwards from driving to the hoop quite as easy as he normally does. But once again, it doesn't match up as well against the Celtics. With that said, though, Boston has shown the tendency to regress in Games 2. We all know this. In fact, before their win against Indiana in the last round, Boston had lost 3 straight Game 2s in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and both playoff losses this year have been Game 2s after Game 1 wins at home. In fact, the Celtics are 13-2 straight up this postseason, but they're just 1-2 in Game 2s. They're 12-0 straight up in all other games so far this postseason. And keep in mind, the Game 2 that they won against Indiana was after a lackluster overtime win in Game 1, so they didn't really feel like they won that game. They were actually outplayed, fortunate to win it all. The other 2 times, though, that they won Games 1 easily against Miami, keep that in mind, that was a 20-point win. They came back and lost outright as a 14-point favorite in Game 2. And then against Cleveland, they won easily as won by 25, and then lost outright by 24 as a 13-point favorite. Now, yes, the Celtics won by 18 in Game 1. They were a 6.5-point favorite. Now it's 7. The odds makers have bumped it higher because the public is all of a sudden jumping ship off of Dallas. Now, the matchup concerns me. As I said, I think Boston wins this series. I picked them in either 5 or 6 games. I had a strong best bet on them in Game 1. I'm just saying, if Dallas is going to get a game, this is actually one of the spots. And if they don't get Game 2 Sunday night, they'll be in an even stronger spot probably to bounce back in Game 3 at home next week. As we know, quality home teams down 0-2 are normally worth a look first half full game in Game 3. So you could play the Mavericks here in Game 2. If it doesn't work, you're going to probably get a good chance with them in Game 3. I do think Dallas gets either Game 2 or 3 here coming up, especially if the Celtics regress a little bit, as they have shown the tendency to do, especially in Game 2s. Now, 3-point shooting will be the key in this game. Boston was plus 27 points from 3-point range in Game 1, and they only won by 18. Do the math. That means Dallas was plus 9 from the rest of the field. They're actually plus 8 from 2, and they're actually plus 10 from 2, minus 1 from the free throw line. Each team took exactly 19 free throw attempts each. So 3-point variance is what made the difference. And once again, it wasn't totally random because Boston's a great 3-point shooting team. That is their game. And Dallas's weakness is the perimeter defense. But if they can cut that margin down, this could be a tighter game, Game 2 on Sunday night. Now, as far as the total goes, very tricky to use my rescore model on blowouts because it's not a true game. It was a blowout from the start, Boston was up by 17 after the first quarter. I believe that was the biggest lead in NBA Finals Game 1 history after one quarter. They were up by 29. They did allow Dallas to get it back down to single digits before pulling ahead by over 20 again. So it wasn't a real true game as far as that. Limited minutes for some of the key players. With that said, the rescore would still come out of the mid 200 range below the total. We did see a lot of sharp money, though, coming in the over. It was around 214, 215 all week. And then a couple hours before tip-off, heavy sharp money pushed it up to 217. The odds makers have opened this game around 214.5 because the first one was lower scoring. So we'll keep an eye on the total. The public is on the total as they normally are to the over. But we did see sharp money coming on the over in Game 1. We'll see if that happens here in Game 2. So if you do like the over, I would recommend playing the over 214.5 sooner than later because I think the sharps might hit this again on Sunday evening just like they did on Thursday night for Game 1. All right, let's look at some player props here real quickly. I mentioned Gafford under. That worked for us. He did not get many minutes. Lively is back in the lineup. He's going to get more minutes. But what is interesting, though, to me, is that Daniel Gafford did get the start in game number 1 on Thursday, but only played 14 minutes. Yes, he got to 8 points, but he was 3 for 3 shooting with 2 free throws. He was perfect from the field, perfect from the line. So his max possibility was 8 points. His total was around 7.5 in a lot of spots. So depending on where you shopped around 7.5 to 8.5, it was either a push, win, or loss. But once again, he can't play any better. Perfect from the field, perfect from the line. He only had 8 points because he only played 14 minutes. So Gafford under 7.5, I think, makes sense. And as I mentioned earlier in Game 1's video, Porzingis back in the lineup is a bad matchup for Gafford because there's some height and length down low with that 7'2" big man for the Boston Celtics. So Gafford under 7.5 is worth a look. He got 8 points in Game 1, but he didn't miss and only played 14 minutes. Now, Lively came off the bench and played over 18 minutes, only took 1 shot attempt, had only 2 points. Lively is now 17 for 17 the last 2 rounds of the NBA playoffs, and he only had 2 points. So Gafford under, Lively under. Depending on who plays less, that'll be a good play. They could both stay under, in my opinion. Once again, Porzingis is making a big difference down low for the Celtics. They had not had him for 38 days. They now got some size and length down low. Speaking of Porzingis, he obviously had a monster game. Came off the bench, only played 20 minutes, but he scored 20 points. He looked good out there. In fact, the Celtics finished the game with 9 blocks, and the Mavericks only had 9 assists. That's pretty crazy. And during one good portion of the game, the Celtics had more blocks than the Mavs had assists, and Porzingis had 3 of those 9 blocks. Jaylen Brown had 3, by the way. And that's somebody else I want to mention because both Brown and Porzingis moved up in the MVP odds after Game 1. Tatum was minus money. He's now about plus 110. Jaylen Brown was 5-1. He's now about 2.5-1. Porzingis was over 50-1. He's now at 5-1 at some books. So a 90% drop in Porzingis' MVP odds. There is no value now at 5-1. Yes, I would have liked a flyer at 50-1 because he played well. Tatum, or Brown are going to win the MVP. But Jaylen Brown's a guy I think's got some upside now, as he had a very good Game 1. Tatum, a double-double, but just 16 points, only 6 for 16 shooting. No, he does that. Celtics win. He doesn't necessarily take over. He's a very quiet superstar. I do think Tatum over in Game 2 could be worth a look since he only scored 16 points, but he still got 16 shot attempts, which was actually more than anybody else in the Celtics. In fact, Porzingis had 13, Brown had 12. Tatum had 16 shot attempts. And the fact that Porzingis and Brown played so well, I think the Mavericks will key on them a little bit more. I like Jason Tatum points prop over for Game 2. I think he gets more than the 16. I'm seeing that currently at 26.5, but he can get there. He has a tendency to alternate good, bad, good, bad. Keep in mind, in that Pacers series, he had 26 or more in 3 of the 4 games. Jason Tatum over 26.5 is worth a look. Gafford and Lively under their point props. Once again, Gafford we're looking at around 7.5. I would take him under 7.5 points. And Derek Lively, the second, did not get many minutes either. I'd take him under 6.5 points. He just doesn't get enough shot attempts. He makes all of his shots, but he only shoots a couple of games. So Lively under, Gafford under points, Tatum over points. Neutral and Brown and Porzingis, I don't fade superstars, but they both had really big Game 1s. They could regress a little bit. Doncic, if the Mavs do win or bounce back, Doncic's going to have to play big. Kyrie Irving, once again, did not do much. He went from 20-1 to 40-1 now in the MVP odds, and that's not a surprise. He only had 12 points, but he took a lot of shot attempts, 6 for 19 shooting. Doncic had 30, was 12 for 26, so the 2 stars for Dallas took 45 of their 84 attempts, so neutral and Irving. I actually think the Irving over could have some value now after taking 19 shot attempts. He was 0 for 5 from three-point range. So if Kyrie's going to have a decent game, and that's a big if, over 22.5 might be worth a look. The problem is he's had 22 or less in the majority of his playoff games this year. So I'm kind of neutral on Kyrie. It would be over or pass for Doncic and Kyrie. Doncic more likely to have the big game because he just never has a bad game, in my opinion. All right, that's a breakdown for you. The MVP odds, some player props, side total, Game 2, Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern on ABC National TV. What are your thoughts on this game? How are you playing it? Sides, totals, props, what are you looking at? Series prices now double. Dallas was 2-1, now they're 3.5-1. Celtics were -200, they're over -400 now. What are your thoughts on the props, the series? Can Dallas hang? Do they get Game 2? If not, do they get Game 3? Comment below. Let me know your thoughts on Sunday's game. I read all the comments. I reply back. Throw in some analysis as well if you have time. Let's learn and earn and win together here on WagerTalk TV. Thumbs up, like if you found the video useful. Keeps all this content free and plentiful. Thumbs up, like is greatly appreciated. If you haven't already joined the family, click subscribe. Become one of over 157,000 subscribers here for free on WagerTalk TV. And click the bell if you want an instant alert when this playoff preview video goes up for each and every game of the NBA Finals. Also, I post free play videos for baseball throughout the week here as well. So click the bell when you subscribe for instant alerts. And don't forget, if you want my personal best bets for Game 2 Sunday night NBA Finals and my daily baseball best bets, check out my page, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. And I post a free play each and every day in baseball. Free play every day with analysis on that page. Great way to build your bankroll and learn and earn as you do so. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. And we do have that June special still available through this week. And get the rest of June for just over $7 a day. No promo code needed. That gets every NBA Finals best bet for the rest of the playoffs because the finals go through June here. And it also gets my baseball each and every day and night. And it works out to less than, about just over $7 a day, but that's only about $2 to $3 a play because I average about 2 to 3 plays per day in all sports. Once again, no promo code needed for that June special. And by the way, I am number one this season in the NBA Units 1, and I'm number one all time in the history of WagerTalk.com Units 1 in the NBA. Big winner in Game 1 on Thursday, and you get my best bet for Game 2 Sunday on my page, along with my daily baseball best bets. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, and check out the daily free play when you go there. Get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM. Follow me on Twitter X at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L. On X, Twitter at Steve Merril. I'm also on Instagram, IG, along with WagerTalk. And stay tuned right here to WagerTalk TV for more great baseball and basketball content coming up next.